Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Father's Day. I'd like to discuss some things about myself. The way I don't know, came to have so much of a bad attitude about the shit that I know versus the shit that I used to know that's pretty much the same shit that most people know. And it's because, well, I wasn't exactly a fucking kitten on the back of the chair and I just knocked her down. It's because, kitten, Tiger Lily. I'm gonna get her. Hold on. All right. If you wanted to be in the video, you could be in the video. Say hello, Tiger Lily. Hello, Tiger Lily. All right. What the shit was I talking about? All right. Leadership. I used to, let's just say, from the 12th of September 2001, compile an ever expanding text document, which was later distributed as and came widely known as the Red Pill Packet. And it had just common facts of serious concern regarding not only the Bush administration, but American institutionalization as a whole and the seeming, I now know, seeming innate corruption of it. It's not innately corrupt. It's been infiltrated and attacked and anticipated from its inception. From the founding of America, America has had enemies that have been trying to anticipate America's potential and position themselves against it. Namely, large Arabian and Central Asian nations, principalities. Um, so I used to take my knowledge as an exorcist and apply it to demon hunting on an international scale, something that now seems to be just the fad to do. I used to be pretty unique in my approach back in the day. I'm talking 2001, 2002. Back when most of these channels that have all the information now, I don't know who any of these guys are. None of them. Most of the guys and girls who ran independent media centers back in the day all just kind of wound up having the same kind of problems in their lives. Thanks to a combination of the RICO Act of 1972 and the Domestic Securities Act of 2002, November 2002. You see, in the November 2002 Domestic Securities Act, if you don't know the RICO Act, you just need to look it up. You have no business claiming to know anything about anything, politically or otherwise, geopolitically, internationally, historically. If you don't know about the RICO Act, that's some scary shit. But the Domestic Securities Act, let's see if I can remember my favorite little direct quote from the bill. Anyone deemed to be expressing anti-American sentiment can be arrested, deported, detained indefinitely, and or stripped of their citizenship without notification of courts. No omissions. That's word for word in the bill. I found this rather disturbing at the time. If it were still law, I still would. But you see, while that was overturned, and while the Patriot Act, I don't know what was the last status of the fucking Patriot Act, but the Patriot Act's been reformed and changed a bit since the Bush administration first implemented it. And what I used to say back in the day was the Patriot Act is the public bill. And there's really not much but liberal whining that can be done over the Patriot Act. I mean, amendments and oversight needed to be made. That got done. It was obvious that was going to be done. Like that based on who was doing what at the time in the Congress. Long story short, okay, the Patriot Act was cover for the Domestic Securities Act. The Domestic Securities Act was the bill that destroyed privacy. And it's the bill that Edward Snowden didn't bother fucking telling you about back then. The whole NSA wiretapping thing, that story goes back to 2002. Okay, December. A little while after some people were discussing the Domestic Securities Act on an independent media board. This was right after waronwar.org got shut down, but was still visible everywhere but the continental U.S. Within the U.S., couldn't get to our own website. Well, I wasn't roommates with Nathan anymore, so it wasn't our website anymore. It was his website, but he's messaging me on Trillion, telling me what the deal was. Nobody could get to his website in the United States or Canada. But people in China and Australia could get to it. I think Israel too. Palestine. There's a thing called the Total Information Awareness Project. Okay, and it was a DARPA program. And it's the big data mining computer that people don't like to talk about. Well, after the big fuss was finally made about the Domestic Securities Act and the TIA, they passed another act eliminating funding for the TIA. I read the entire bill. Nowhere in the bill did it say pull the plug on the fucking computer or anything to that effect. No ending of the program at all. No dismantling, no closing, no nothing. Just this isn't going to be getting paid for anymore. We're not going to be sending this money anymore. We're not going to be sending them this money anymore. We're no longer going to be paying for this. But it was very specific about saying we will not be funding this anymore. Every time it said it was doing anything, the action was not funding or some synonym. Well, none of these false prophets that you see on the internet now gave a shit about this then. Alex Jones didn't even cover this then. He was all over the Patriot Act. Didn't seem to know nothing about the DIA. And Edward Snowden comes along. Russia's best little friend there. Hold on one second. Anyway, and now everybody's all aware of the government, Big Brother, and all this shit. It took a show called Big Brother for most people to be aware of Big Brother. That's fucking sad. And I mean, crony activism is just annoying. All right. People need to get aware of reality, not be sitting there listening to people who just kind of joined it to join it. And they're just repeating the same shit as everybody else. And you can tell because you Google or YouTube search the same fucking shit. You know, be specific about of a particular conspiracy. Search for it. See how many different news sounding channels show up, all covering that same thing and all having the same exact thing to say about it. Oh, well, with all these people saying it, it must be the truth, right? No. That's the definition of propaganda. The definition of propaganda. What I've come to realize after nitpicking everything from the stars on airplanes to the upside down star of the fallen here at Medal of Honor. Medal. All of the pinnacle type symbolism in the American military comes from the influence of basically the mercenaries, a lot of Hessian mercenaries that train its foundational command structure. So in the beginning, you know, during, before, and after the Revolutionary War, um, mercenaries from basically Russia, okay, and from various parts of Russified Europe were shipped in to help modernize, train, organize the American military structure. And, you know, America's founded on a conglomeration of all kinds of different people. So all these old traditions from all these old places made it in here in different ways. All right. So it's really not conclusive at all to be overanalyzing symbols that came from A, Hessian mercenary influence, okay, and B, this weird Russified Zionist movement that started happening in the mid 1800s, right before our Civil War. Now, the rebel flag itself comes from the Hessian Saxon side of the same controversy that the Union Jack's second set of stripes come from. And these are not easy stories to get the truth behind, I've noticed. But basically, this long series of East versus West type conflicts has been going on behind the scenes forever. Okay. And I mean, just damn near forever, ever. Forever, ever. Forever, ever. Like, okay. To properly administer American policies, that is, real American values, what we all agree that America should be, to properly represent that in an international diplomatic way, to properly administer American policies abroad, one must assume that good exists in some of those parties within the countries that you're dealing with. This assumption, however, is the foundation of most of America's past mistakes historically, and is especially the case in most of Obama's seeming strategic errors, or in his seeming lack of comprehensive strategy, supposedly. When you actually look at what America should be doing, that's what Obama's doing. Okay, we're not supposed to be the dictator of the world here. We're not Team America World Police. We help where and when we can, but we're not supposed to be the boss of everyone. Okay, and it seems like when Obama's criticized, he's either criticized for doing too much or doing too little. There's never any room. The fucking two sides overlap. Let me put it this way. There's just no place where he could be that would actually fucking please anyone, it seems. Well, I have a couple of questions. Anyone have a better idea? Like what to do with ISIL, what to do with Russia? Ship Ukraine tanks? Guess what happened? There's two ways we could ship Ukraine a bunch of tanks. Or a bunch of A-10. Or a bunch of military equipment, whatever. There's two ways we could do it. One is we could try to get away with it. The other is we could do it overtly. If we do it overtly, before the cargo even gets loaded onto boats or planes or however we're going to send it, Russia will have completely firebombed Kiev. If we try to do it covertly, you get the same result. Only, let's just say you open up the door within the eye for an eye revenge mentality for a world of other shit to happen immediately as opposed to happening when we're more prepared for it. And at this point, the intelligence community would be stupid not to be preparing for it. Here's a list of what we've been doing to prepare for it lately. Oh, yeah, and not just what would you have done better now, but what would you have done better each time? Like Russian Mongols are taking over Vietnam. That's what really fucking happened. Okay, I mean, there were Russians there helping the North Vietnamese. And yes, there were Chinese communists, pro-Russian Chinese. It's a very complicated situation. And to just say, oh, I found the truth that lets me be angry at the man, you're just being a fucking rebellious little kid. You need to grow up, okay? There's a deeper story behind all this shit. And I know what it's like. I used to be there, you know? I was fucking 15 too, you know? Like, but by the time I had reached, I guess, my 30s, you know, late 20s, I started just kind of sensing, you know, what I know doesn't necessarily add up more than what other people know. And I needed to really kind of take a breath and empty my cup. Yeah. And, you know, then I found my soulmate. My cup got filled real fucking quick. But that's a whole different type of ball game than what y'all should be playing. All right. So here's the deal. We have currently sent batches of several hundred troops at a time totaling several thousand at this point, to Poland, Latvia, Lithuania. We have exercises in Germany, Ukraine, Slovakia, Serbia. I think either Sweden or Norway or something. Anyway, Putin has been threatening all of these countries that we're sending troops to with nuclear war. Okay, he's been threatening to nuke them. He's been threatening to shoot down civilian airlines. He's been threatening to do all kinds of shit. Okay, he has 20,000 troops stationed outside of Lithuania. Okay, and there's a Russian propaganda machine at work in Lithuania trying to get a separatist movement in full swing out there. And Lithuania has been at the forefront of pro-American, of advocating for American involvement in this resurrected Putin's Cold War. Okay, and Lithuania has announced that it will try to be the first country to overtly arm, that is, send weapons to Ukraine. So Putin's main target right now, as far as the most likely country he's going to invade next, due to its small size and relatively low manpower, is going to be funding purchases of weapons to be shipped to Ukraine. Okay. Poland has probably already beat him to it and just hasn't really told anybody. But Poland is right there with him. Okay. And right in between the two is Poland. All right. There's Belarus and Russia. The other side, but fixed that way. Whatever. You get the idea. Picture the crap in your head. All right. Poland and the Polish people have been very supportive of Ukraine. Not only just because of neighborly relations and because of how shitty Russia's been to them, but the Polish president was debatably assassinated by Russia recently. 5 years ago now. Got to remember how long ago it was when I researched it and how long ago I had researched it. But look it up. Polish president plane crash. Okay. And find the video in which people trying to go film with their cell phones the wreckage were shot at by Russian special forces who just happened to be there. And it crashed right as it was going into Russia. And no, they weren't friends. There was kind of a whole big deal, which goes back to Timoshenko's fall from grace, which I personally think is a tragedy because Yulia Tymoshenko would be a great leader for Ukraine. Um, you can point to the records of any person with a good idea trying to gain influence, whether they're a politician or not, and say, oh, why are you getting money from that place and this, that? The girl had economic skills, okay? And she was using those economic skills for good in a context in which you could say it was bad if you just want to say these things happened and put a bad context to it. And that's why Yulia Tymoshenko is unelectable, because there's this big conspiracy against her about the gas deal. Again, I ain't going into that because, well, didn't refresh it, so it's not fresh in my brain. And this video ain't about that. Back to the notes. So, in addition to the European buildup that's just kind of very slowly going on right now, like we can't just outright send a bunch of weapons there. Those troops that Russia has poised to attack, that is exactly, and I mean exactly, the only thing that they're waiting for. There is no other thing that will cause them to advance. And Obama knew that from day one. Okay? From the moment Crimea had a referendum and those Russian troops started amassing on the Ukrainian border. Okay? From day one, Obama knew that. And while the Congress has passed legislation saying we should send weapons to Ukraine, I'm glad that my beloved president, Barry, I love you, man. You have saved millions, possibly, of lives. Because the moment we send a bunch of military equipment back to Europe for the specific purpose of taking Russian lives, whether defending anyone or not, that's how it's going to be framed on Russian media. And the Russian people, the ones that hear nothing but propaganda, will be in a fucking fury. Those troops will not be stopped. The local fucking commanders will see this shit and be like, well, fuck this, we're going. Oh, did you get orders from Moscow? Oh, maybe Moscow isn't there anymore. We must go. The fascists are coming. I mean, that's how bad it is with the propaganda that these people are being fed. It sounds fantastic. I know. That's the point. These people are being fed a fucking fantasy. But you know what? The weapons that they have are not a fucking fantasy. The sheer numbers of manpower, the secret arsenals that they have, are not a fantasy. The cigarette being broken is not a fantasy. Yeah, I don't give up on anything easy. Cigarette broke, I broke it a little more and yeah, fixed it. A few people, nobody who's going to watch this actually, have previously wondered about my size relative to my cigarettes. Well, these are Camel wides. Huh. So yes, I look like a normal sized person when I hold these giant fucking cigarettes. How about that? They are delicious. I think I'm going to be quitting this year, though, at the end of this year. Like a certain age that I had planned on quitting. So I'll either quit at the beginning of that age or sometime during that year when I'm that age, depending on how half-assed I feel like doing it. Hey, fuck off. I want to choose to be half-assed about something knowingly. At least I know I'm being half-assed about it, you know? So moving on with the list here. in addition to the other things I was saying. The United States has ordered new aircraft carriers. Wait, doesn't the United States have the most and the biggest and the best aircraft carriers? Yes, and we need some better ones. And we need them quick. And we're ordering them. Simon says, guess what? I'm Simon's daddy. Okay? I've been eating chocolate. I ate a lot of chocolate. Chocolate and coffee do not combine for television teeth. And I never have the wherewithal to say brush the shit off my teeth before I go back and film a video. I'm too busy thinking about what the video is going to be about. So, yeah, this is not for prettiness. These new aircraft carriers, oh, they're pretty, but pretty is not their intended function. These fuckers are going to be bad. All right. And they're going to have some special armaments, which I'm pretty sure Russia already knows about them, but they're not going to tell you about them on the news, so I'll tell you about them right now. There was this issue of capacitive discharge capability. Okay, how much, think flux capacitor, 1.21 gigawatts. Okay, like how to get a whole shit ton of like lightning level fucking burst of electricity into powering a firing mechanism, right? And these new aircraft carriers have not hydraulic airplane launchers, chutes, they have electric ones. Well, what was wrong with the hydraulic one? It's about combined purpose. See, if you wanted to have an electric powered railgun that is a super speed projectile that is fired magnetically via an initial a regular old gunpowder blast, right? A conventional gunpowder blast, which is then accelerated by an electric impulse to terrible fucking speed and can go great distances in damn near an instant, okay? But to have enough electrical capacity to power such a weapon would not be practical unless you could combine that with other needs, such as the hydraulic ramps on these new aircraft carriers. So that's my theory based upon what I know about old technological objectives within the establishment. But the point is, for anybody who's wondering, how serious is this new threat? How serious is the damage that has been done by our compromise with history in order to have peace with Russia since 1945? Okay, we literally compromised by saying we're going to teach this to our children. That was in a fucking treaty that we signed with Stalin. It's fucked up, okay, but how much damage has it done? How blinded are you to how much danger we are in? How blinded are people in general to how much danger we are in? If we, the number one superpower in the world, need up to 6 new fucking aircraft carriers, see, I think I'm China got 2, Russia got 3. We got 12 full battle fleets surrounded by, you know, major super aircraft carriers. We have about 20 smaller aircraft carriers, helicopter carriers, Harrier, naval aircraft carriers, um, marine aircraft carriers. I meant marine. But all right. So speaking of Navy, another one on the list. I talk about this MH17 thing because it's something that needs to be talked about more. Anybody who runs an actual channel needs to make a documentary about this. You need to get people aware about this. And if you want to send people to subscribe to me, just warn them that this is not the beginner's class. Okay? The words will come to you. You want to help? Open your mind to helping. Get the will to help. What to do, what to say will come to you. Otherwise, don't. Suppose you shouldn't. It's only logical, right? So when MH17 was shot down by Russian troops assisting pro Russian separatists, that is, Russian immigrants, and their younger descendants. I mean, literally, like the people that were over 30 that weren't born there. They moved from Russia to there for the jobs that started from the Ukrainian arms business down there in Donetsk region. Well, steel business too, shipbuilding. Lots of hard products being made there. But anyways, so the next day, Mosul fell. All right, like MH17. That next day, all the news about MH17. The following day, you get news that that night, the night after, one night, 2 nights, Mosul fell. Okay, not a coincidence. It's just not. Look at all the other fucking data that leads up to ISIL's existence to begin with. All the Dagestanis, Chechens, and Arabs from various, I mean, they're listed as various Russian territories. What? Okay. Don't be under the impression that Putin actually needs to issue an order to get somebody to do something. Okay? It's about brainwashing. It's about win. It's about pawn. Well, just before and just a couple weeks after this incident, a Russian warship uh, docked for a few days and delivered supplies to Assad. The thing is, both times when Assad got resupplied, he didn't seem to gain any advantage. But both times when these Russian ships showed up, supposedly supplying Assad, ISIL started taking territory away from the Free Syrian Army, the FSA. So Putin shows up in Syria, and suddenly one of the so-called rebel groups isn't attacking Assad, they're attacking the rebels in Syria, and they're gaining ground in Syria. And that was like 2 months. Again, a few months before that. Like every time. You would think, all I'm saying is that you would think if Russia's resupplying Syria, Assad, that Assad would be the one to gain advantage. Instead, ISIL stepped on gaining more advantage every time a Russian ship would show up in Syria. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Anyway. So now we got 175 kilometer long terrorist migrant fence in Hungary, between Hungary and Serbia, to protect immigration from Albanian Muslims. Europe is tensing up on three fronts, man. I mean, if you're familiar with what Armageddon's supposed to be, it's happening, you know. I'm getting tired. Okay, 42 minutes. See, I'm trying to look. Is there anything I missed on my notes here? Um, there's been kind of an ongoing conflict with the gas supply in Ukraine. Ukraine has been dependent on Russian gas for just basic heating needs for surviving the freaking winter. And Lithuania and Slovakia have been trying to buy gas from Russia initially and ship it to Ukraine, getting a lot of problems for it. Now they're trying to ship their own gas through Russian-owned pipelines to Ukraine, and Russian-owned gas company Gazprom is saying that it can't be done. And oh yeah, for the record, one of the things people bitch about and seem to just want to blame Obama again for is that the United States has historically been allied with Saudi Arabia, a pretty nasty place. Um, there was a guy recently whipped. He's getting 50 lashes a day until he reaches 10,000 lashes with a freaking stick. And he got to serve 10 years in prison, and he's paying like big ass fine for running a liberal website in Saudi Arabia, for wanting to discuss Islam and religion and politics, for just wanting to discuss stuff, human rights. That's what he gets. Okay? Everybody's like, Obama! You know, nigga's only been president for 7 fucking years. 6 years. What? So what the fuck? Why is that his problem? Well, guess what? This black man who's doing better than all the previous white men that I fucking know has effectively reduced the amount of oil that we buy from Saudi Arabia by I don't know what percentage, by like 30, 40, 50%. We are right now more energy independent than we have ever been, thanks to Barack Obama. Get off the man's back. It's self-destructive crazy talk. It's veiled racism from all type of different angles. And it's fucking it's boring. I mean, get over it. Grow up. Like literally things that have been problems with this country for generations never been talked about until Obama took office. Then suddenly they're all his fault. Give me a break. Anyway, if you are not a crazy person, wait, hold up. Wait. I want to get this right. I want to get this right. If you are a crazy person because you don't think the government's out to get you, which is what I've been basically accused of being, I must be insane because I don't think the government's out to get me. So, if you are a crazy person because you don't think the government's out to get you, you can like and subscribe to this here channel. And my friends, we will all be blessed and prosperous. No, we'll all have shit to do. It's worth doing. Peace.